Any good discount grocer startups out there?
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia, and you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_Beal and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. It's a very, very busy day in the NBA. There are 11 games on, lots of really intriguing stuff going down as well. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it indeed. We will start with an absolute barn burner. The New York Knicks and the Orlando Magic. The Knicks 83, the Magic 95. Who's ready for some Fizdale bullshit? Because that's exactly what we got in this game. First of all, no Alfred Payton, no Dennis Smith. So we assume Frank Ntilikina is going to start at point guard. Not so fast, my friends, because David Fizdale, in his infinite wisdom and the team scoring 83 points in the end, said he didn't want to start Frank just in case he got into foul trouble. He'd still play him a lot of minutes, which I guess is true because he still played 30 minutes, 29 minutes actually, but didn't start him. Went with a starting backcourt of the Duke, Wayne Ellington and RJ Barrett. That obviously didn't work. Ellington played only 19 minutes. The absolute nonsense logic with Fizdale. And you can say, oh, that's true, Josh. He might not get those fouls when he plays against the starters. That's true. Then why start Mitchell Robinson, a bloke who is perpetually in foul trouble? If that's your reasoning, don't start Mitch. It seems pretty straightforward to me. Also, it's limiting a guy's playing time in case his playing time gets limited. So you're giving him a 100% chance of playing fewer minutes versus a chance of maybe playing fewer minutes. It's nonsense. Fizdale is the worst coach in the NBA. It's a bloke in Chicago. Is not too far away, but Fizdale is struggling. Speaking of struggling, 19 minutes for Mitchell Robinson.
Mitch Robinson says, I'll take it from here.
Now, the production's unbelievable. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 3 blocks, 4 of 4 from the free throw line. The best fantasy contributor on this team in only 19 minutes and 1 foul. Why are we only getting 19 Mitchell Robinson minutes so we can get 29 Punch Bob Shiploke minutes? Again, poor coaching from Fizdale. This production from Robinson is fine. It's still providing value. Hopefully no one was taking him in round 2 or round 3. It was more that round 4 or 5 sort of a player. But it is extremely frustrating, especially when we've got this sort of scenario where he's not in foul trouble and he's still playing under 20 minutes. Julius Randle, 16, 10, and 7. Poor free throws, good field goals, which had been struggling for him throughout the early portion of this season. These lack of peripherals in terms of steals, blocks, and threes, and the poor free throws is why I didn't have him. Some people were thinking he was a top 30 sort of guy. That's why I didn't have him anywhere near that range to begin this season. He's been worse than I anticipated, but this sort of line is more of what we can expect. Marcus Morris has really cooled off. 9 points on 18% shooting. Of course, he's not going to be that bad. The 4 blocks, that's interesting.
A surprise, to be sure, but a welcome one.
Much like the 18% shooting is not going to stick, 4 blocks a game isn't going to stick. I think Morris is more of a 14-team guy, while Punch Bob had 10 boards, 12 points, nothing else. That is a true Bob Porter special. I guess you could look at him as a streamer off the back end of your bench, but I don't think we should have any faith in that. The Fort, Kevin Knox, he's actually looking a little bit better, but we're still only getting 23 minutes out of him. 10 points on 30% shooting, while Ntilikina, the aforementioned Big Frank, 7, 4, and 4 in 29 minutes. RJ Barrett, a stinker. He's been really good to start the season. 9, 2, and 2, but the percentages missed both of his free throws. He is an absolute punt free throw must. 36% from the field. No steals, no blocks. These were all the concerns that I had with him coming out of college, is the lack of peripherals, the poor percentages. He's had a few big steal games, but the free throws have been atrocious, and that's what worries me with him long term. Alonzo Trier out of the rotation entirely because we got 13 minutes of Damian Dotson. On to the Magic. Nikola Vucevic, a great opportunity to bounce back. Him and Aaron Gordon both had struggled, and they played the Knicks, so they got big nights. 21, 13, and 4 for Vooch with a steal and a block, while Gordo had 15 and 11 with a steal and a block. Also good to get back on track there. While Johnny Isaac, the offense wasn't quite the same, only 10 points, but 67% shooting, 7 boards, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and somehow John Isaac is available in 13% of leagues. I hope that there is not one person who is listening to this podcast that has John Isaac available in their league, because if they are, I want your home address, because I'm going to come around And I'm going to give you a stern talking to. I might even give you a Mutombo finger wag. He does not need to be on any waiver wire. Fournier, I think Evan Fournier is probably a 12-team must-roster guy. 14 points in 28, while this was Markelle Fultz's worst performance. 7 points with one rebound and 1 assist. Only 20 minutes to DJ Augustine's 28. I'd still be holding Markelle. It wasn't great. Well, Terry Ross, get him out of here. Like no point. 22 minutes, 2 points. 1 of 10 shooting. The thing that I'm more worried about is he's not playing 28 a night. He's playing 22 a night because the Chief...
Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Al-Farouq Aminu is taking those minutes. Michael Carter-Williams is taking those minutes as well. And that is obviously impacting Ross's ability. Now, with this time of year for you guys in the States, its temperature is cooling down. You're heading into Thanksgiving. You're heading into Christmas. The winter is coming. This is the time for the NBA season. It's the time for college basketball coming up as well. So pro ball already tipped off, college ball tipping off soon. There's no better way to feel a part of the action by having a stake in the game with mybookie.ag. Use your basketball knowledge, whether you get it from listening to this podcast, other podcasts, or you're just a well-known basketball savant. Use that knowledge and put it to the test and use it to your advantage by using mybookie.ag to win some real money. If you really want to support your team this season, don't just sit on the sidelines. Get in the game with mybookie.ag. If you join right now, MyBookie will double your first deposit. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNBA to activate that offer. That's the promo code LOCKEDONNBA, all one word, to double your cash. Visit mybookie.ag today. You pay, you win, and you get paid. All right, the next game up for us to take a look at, we have got the... who have we got? The Chicago... Oh, there we go. The Chicago Trash Bags versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, 111-117. The Cavs get the win over the Bulls. Let's start with the Bulls. Wendell Carter Jr. really playing well here. 15 and 8 with 2 blocks. Only the 27 minutes because why wouldn't you play your best player more minutes than that? We'll get onto that a little bit more later. Your must-roster guy, somehow he's available in 15% of leagues. He is going to be, I think, a top 25 guy at some point. Not this season, at some point. Tomas Satoransky, this is nice. 8 points, 8 assists, still only 5 shots in 27 minutes. And there's a lot of confusion with Chris Dunn and Kobe White and Ryan Archer-Jacquino getting all these minutes. But if Satoransky does this every night, then that's enough for 12-10 leagues. I just worry about where the actual upside comes, and this is probably on the upper end of what he's done so far. Levine was poor once more, 16 points, no rebounds, and 2 assists. And everywhere he has been in his career, he has not been a winning player, and that is a real concern. His lack of attention on defense, his tunnel vision with the ball, it's a real concern. I have maintained that Wendell Carter is the best young player on this team, or the best young future prospect, including Levine and including Lauri Markkanen, nay Markkanen. But not a great night from Levine and Markkanen, benched down the stretch, sat the final 7 minutes out, 16 and 8, another horrible shooting night, 33%. Thad Young in the game. Now, if you can't beat the Cavs with one of your young core players, maybe he's not that good, or B, the coach isn't that good, or maybe it's a combination of both. Markkanen is always going to be held back upside-wise by the lack of defensive presence and defensive stats from a fantasy point of view. We are seeing that, and now it's being paired with some poor field goal percentage. But in saying that, I think he is still a bit of a buy low in terms of fantasy value, because I think that shot will come around a bit. Otto Porter. 27 minutes for Porter, that minutes limit to 30. I don't know why he's only playing 27. By far the best game of his season. This is a very Otto Porter line, except we didn't get steals. 15, 5, and 3. 50% shooting from the field. We also hit him hitting his free throws as well. 80% from the line. So some pretty interesting performances in that sense. But those lack of steals, the minutes being reduced as well is obviously a level of concern. But it is something that I think we have to live through it. I think we just have to deal with it and see the progression coming and keep him on a roster. Kobe White is not a 12-team league guy. 8 points in 21 minutes for Whitey on 12 shots. For the Cavs, selling high on Kevin Love is a tough ask. You got to try it though. 17 and 20 with 6 assists, 60% from the field, 80 from the line. This is Minnesota Kevin Love territory. We hoped he'd be able to do this last season. He wasn't, but he looks fine. An injury could obviously bite you in the ass here, but in terms of selling high, I don't think selling high for a Lauri Markkanen or for a top 60 player is really what you want to do. It's can you get a distressed high-end asset? Will someone really buy into it? Otherwise, I just play it out. You probably got Love in the 60s in a draft. And if he's producing like he's producing now, top 30-ish type numbers, I don't actually have where he's ranked at the moment on hand. I probably should go and have a look to see where he is. But the numbers he's given you, I would rather roll out that because there's a chance that he doesn't get hurt and he plays 70 games this season and he continues to be this good. He's the 17th ranked player this season. So I'm not selling him for the 60th ranked guy. I'm not selling him for a Zach LaVine. I'm not selling him for an Eric Bledsoe or someone like that because there's probably a 50-50 chance, maybe higher, maybe it's 60-40, that he ends up a better prospect than those guys. So I'll write it out. I took the risk and it's working. Tristan Thompson is a must-roster guy, 23-10 with 5 blocks. These blocks from Tomo are really surprising, putting up some big defensive numbers. Really, really strong stuff from him. While Chetty Osman started slow, but ended with 12, 4, and 3. 4 threes, a steal, and a block. That's excellent. Like, if you got that from Chetty every night, you'd love it. The problem is you don't, and you can't rely upon it. More of a 14-teamer. 2 games in a row with decent scoring from Jordan Clarkson, 17 points, but I'd use him as a streamer. While the Padawan Colin Sexton, I'm not... Maybe, hey, some of you probably disagree with this, but I don't think I really go out and give hot takes on this show. And maybe this isn't even a hot take. I don't think that Colin Sexton will ever have a top 100 fantasy season. There's just nothing in the peripherals that really... Look, again, 18, 2, and 2. No steals, no blocks. You only hit 1 3. Big dunk at the end when LaVine was just snoozing and letting him go past. But that ability that he scores and does nothing else is obviously what holds him back. Darius Garland, I think he can be useful at some point, but by useful, do I mean top 50 useful or top 110? I mean the latter. So therefore, if you don't want to wait for it, go move on, get someone else, stream that spot. I don't think you're missing too much. Larry Nance played 30 minutes with the absence of John Henson. So Nancy had 12, 5, and 2. I do think he is a 12-team league guy despite his shooting not being so good. A pretty decent night from Kevin Porter Jr. as well. Interesting to see whether he sticks in the rotation or Dylan Windler gets a look there when he actually eventually returns from his injury, which of course we don't know that at this point when that'll be. The next game up, we've got the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Philadelphia 76ers. This is a game where there was 2 ejections, Karl-Anthony Towns and Joel Embiid getting into a fight, both guys ejected. Now, I'll give my thoughts on this because there's some confusion with some of the things that I tweeted about this. All right, so it appeared that Embiid was trying to run off and Towns hooked his arm under. They started jostling and they were wrestling. Some people saying it looked like Towns threw a punch. I don't believe that it was a punch. It looked like he was just swinging wildly with his hand. It didn't look like a punch to me. And in all those things, in that sort of a wrestle, I don't think they should get suspended. Now, what I think versus what will happen is a different thing. I think they probably both get a 1-game suspension. I was a little bit worried about Ben Simmons, who on the ground was laying on Towns' back, put his arm around his throat and held him down, but the refs, for some reason, ruled that he was trying to be the peacemaker to keep Towns out of the fracas. Again, it's pretty... You don't need to put your arm around someone's throat for that, but it appears that Simmons will escape that suspension. There is also a photo going around of Embiid with a thumb pressed onto or near the eye of Karl-Anthony Towns. Now, at the time of me recording this, I haven't seen any video. Now, what I tweeted out, I said that eye gouging should be a multi-week suspension. I am not saying that Embiid eye gouged Karl Towns. But if video comes out saying that he deliberately, and you can see his hand deliberately move to his face, put the thumb on the eye and push, that should be a multi-week suspension. If that is just one, screenshot, whatever it's called, freeze frame of a moment where his hands are up and the thumb is near the eye, and then in the video it just moves on and nothing happens, then of course there's nothing in that. That's just grappling around, and I don't think that deserves a suspension. But if video is available, and I haven't seen it at the recording, of someone going up, putting a thumb deliberately on an eye and pushing, that should be multi-weeks. The NBA is soft as shit in terms of giving suspensions. Anytime you are putting pressure on someone's eye deliberately, that should be 4-5 weeks, 20-25 games. You don't want any of that shit out there. Someone wrestling each other or pushing, who gives a shit? It doesn't mean anything. When something can cause lasting injury damage, like pushing someone's eye, that is serious. And I am not saying that Embiid did it. This is a blanket statement. If someone is eye gouging someone, get them the hell out of there. Give them weeks. Make it so that that is an absolute no-go area. You do not do that regardless. There is no justification for it. But we haven't seen that on the video. So I don't know. And if Embiid didn't do that, which we all hope he did, because it's a dog act. So we hope he didn't do it. But if he did, toss him out. Now the NBA won't. If they see that he eye gouged, they'll give him 2 games or some nonsense suspension like that. So I think we have to be at least thinking that Embiid and Towns will miss one more game this week. Of course, that does boost that value for Jordan Bell and Noah Vonleh on the Minnesota side. It boosts guys like Furkan Korkmaz, who stepped up today, Prison Mike Scott, who stepped up last time, maybe a little bit for Kylo Quinn. But I don't imagine there's going to be any long-term ramifications. On to the Wolves. I hope that all clears it up in terms of what I'm thinking about eye gouging. I am not saying that Embiid should be 25-game suspension based on one photo. That is not what I'm saying. If you see the video and that's what he's doing, and I challenge you to tell me that eye gouging should be something that's allowed or that it isn't a big deal. Because if someone deliberately is trying to push someone into the eye, that is an absolute dog act, and you should be banned for quite a long time. If anyone's doing that, I don't care who it is that's doing it. It doesn't matter if it's Embiid or if it's Towns doing it back or if it's bloody James Ennis doing it. It doesn't matter who it is. If anyone's doing that, they should be gone. All right, Wiggins, 19-5 with a 1-1, 2 assists, and he hit all 6 of his free throws. Definite progress from Wiggins this season. He's available in 15% of leagues. I would be adding him. Look, we know he's had his foibles in the past, but he looks a lot better this season. I'm worried about Robert Covington, and I'll say this. The minutes is the concern. Now, the 3 blocks is nice. The 1 steal is nice. 26 minutes. How much of that is the fact that this was an absolute blowout and Jeff Teague played only 25?
My name is Jeff.
I'm not sure, but we haven't been getting a 33 or 34 minute Covington performance continuously, and that is a worry. Now, I'm not doing anything. I'm not dropping him. I'm not, got to get rid of him in every possibility, because this line is actually still all right, but there is definitely a worry there. Teague had 15-5, while Shabazz Napier played 25 minutes and had 13 points and 2 steals. Shabazz is an interesting deep league guy. Josh Okogie, another 3 steals, a great steals specialist, but not much more than that. While, again, if anyone is still holding Jarrett Culver, just cut 16 minutes, 6 points, and not much else. Jake Layman started the second half over Trevion Graham. They're basically just playing, splitting those minutes at small forward and not providing any real overall fantasy value. For the Sixers, the painter, Matisse Thybulle. You can't ignore it. 9 points, 1 3, but 4 steals, 2 blocks. He is available in 87% of leagues. And don't tell me there isn't a team out there that wouldn't love a player getting 4 steals a game and 2 blocks a game. Because while that might sound hyperbolic, and I said, Marcus Morris is not averaging 4 blocks a game, because he's not. Like, if this bloke averaged 3 steals a game in 30 minutes and 2 blocks, I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, he is averaging in 22 minutes a game, Matisse Thybulle, 3 steals and 1.5 blocks. That is insane. He is averaging 5 points a game and is a top 90 fantasy player. Like, it is absolute insanity, and these are just numbers. And he's ranked 88th while shooting 24%. 24. I talked about him in the offseason, saying if he can be a Tony Allen, Corey Brewer, steals type guy, he has 12-team value. Well, screw those guys. He's kicking their asses unbelievably. It is crazy how good of a defender this guy is. Ben Simmons, 16, 3 and 7 with 3 steals and 2 blocks. Good from Benny. While Toby Harris, 18 and 9. And someone said, how can you say that he's boring? He puts up these solid numbers. It's just boring. There's 18 and 9 is fine. There's no upside to it. There's no defensive numbers. He doesn't really ever wow you. Consistency is totally fine. I'm not saying that he's a bad player, because I think he's a really good player. Just there's a difference between someone putting up an exciting line like Thybulle having 4 steals and 2 blocks versus Harris just going out and going 15 and 6 every game. That's what I mean by boring. Joshie Richardson, 12 points with 4 steals, and Al Horford, 16 boards for Horford. The poor percentages held him back, but otherwise pretty strong. An interesting 11 rebound night from Jim Ennis as well. I don't think we need to get too interested there. Well, Furkan Korkmaz, 17 points, 22 minutes, got really hot, got some extra minutes with Embiid out. Very little to see there with that, I think, but he is getting minutes over Hull Neto and getting minutes over Zaire Smith, DRC, and of course over Trey Burke, who was ill in this game. Maybe he's been ill all season. We just haven't seen him play at all so far. All right, so let's move on now to the next game. We're looking at the Milwaukee Bucks and the Boston Celtics. Giannis, ho-hum, 22, 14 and 5, 1 steal and 2 blocks. And again, the free throws, he is absolutely murdering you in that area. 10 attempts, 6 makes. That's 60% of those for those of you without a calculator on hand. And he just continues to be a bad free throw shooter and is putting you in a huge hole. He is the 22nd ranked player overall this season because his Z score in free throws is negative 4.21. Andre Drummond and DeAndre Jordan in their heyday would be proud. Dwight Howard would be proud of that number. That is a real concern. He's also not hitting threes. They're at 14%. That little semi-resurgence from him that we saw at the end of last season, it has not carried over. Chris Middleton had 26 and 6. That's good from him. Well, another real shit one from Eric Bledsoe. 7, 5, and 5. Missed all 3 of his free throws. Played 28 minutes. If anyone drops him, I'm adding him. He is an ultimate buy low, but by buy low, I mean, who's the worst player on your roster? Send that trade out. I think he can be better than this. I'm pretty confident he can. He's not just 100% washed up. I think the rib cartilage is still bothering him. That is a real buy low situation. Brook Lopez, 10 points and 2 blocks, not his best night. Well, George Hill's actually coming in to the discussion for 12-teamers. 12, 5, and 2 in only 20 minutes. Wesley Matthews, yeah, a real shit one from him as well. 3, 3, and 3, the Chris Gale. On to the Celtics. No Jaylen Brown, so we had some big performances from other players. Gordie Hayward, 21, 10, and 7, a steal and a block. I had multiple people, now I don't know if it was actually before this game or during this game, asking whether they should drop Hayward. Like, no, he should not be dropped in any league. That is a good performance. He needs to be rostered in every league. Kemba was great as well, 32, 6, and 6, despite the poor shooting. And Jason Tatum, 25, 4, and 2. A lot of shots for Tatum, 22 of them, in fact. 27% usage. Much like when he talked about Marketing early on, talking about Tatum and what holds him back from fantasy elitism, I guess, is the fact that those other numbers, the low rebounds, the low assists, the low steals, the low blocks. It's like Rudy Gay, but a higher scoring version of Rudy Gay. Marcus Smart put it into the starting lineup as well. 19, 4, and 6 with 5 threes. Really, really strong with Jaylen out. I think we can always feel good about Smart when those minutes go up. The production's going to come. Vanilla Tice started with Enes Kanter out, 11 and 9 in 28 minutes. And of course, with him playing that much, that meant the Rock DJ Robbie Williams only played the 14 minutes. Grant Williams only played 15. While we did have Romeo Langford's NBA debut, 14 seconds. I thought we'd get more Carson Edwards. We didn't. He played 4 minutes. There were people that drafted him in 12-team leagues after that hot quarter in a preseason, and it is just a reminder that there are people who significantly overreact to things that happen at any point, preseason, off-season, regular season, and if you take advantage of those people, you can get some pretty significant returns back. Next game up on the slate for us to take a look at, we're looking at the Indiana Pacers and the Brooklyn Nets. An injury here to Miles Turner, who sprained his ankle. Adrian Wojnarowski tweeted out like Turner's leg had fallen off. It's a non-contact injury. He's crumpled to the floor in a big pile. It wasn't non-contact. He got hit in the leg and then his ankle rolled and he sort of hobbled off with 2 people sort of balancing him. It was an ankle sprain. He's apparently going to have an MRI and maybe he misses the end of this week. Thankfully, it's not that serious. But Woj's tweet, I saw it, and I was watching it, and I saw Woj's tweet come through. I go, what the hell did I miss? Like, what did I see here? Was he, like, grasping at his Achilles? Is his leg pointed the wrong way? No, he just sprained his ankle. So I don't really know why Woj was being so extra about this Turner injury, but there we are. Now, with him out, Domantas Sabonis went bananas. 29 and 8 in 36 minutes. A lot of shots. He looked great. Malcolm Brogdon, another double-double. Continues to get him. 21, 8, and 13 with 3 steals. He is an absolute monster at the moment. Is he a sell high? Probably a little bit when Oladipo comes back, but we've got November, we've got most of December, we've probably got some of January or most of January until Oladipo gets back up to speed. Mate, don't worry about it. This is really, really strong from Malcolm. Tony Warren Jr., I don't know if I said it on yesterday's show, if I said it on this morning's live stream. If you haven't checked out the pregame show, go back and check that out as well. That he was due for one of those weird 20-point performances. He had 20 points with 3 steals, efficient stuff, no 3 still, and that 3-point shooting has been nowhere near where it was from him in the past. He's still got solid value. Or Jezza Lamb returned 25 points on 19 shots with 7 boards back into the starting lineup, and again, available in 30% of leagues, he should be rostered. Goga Bitadze.
Problem with my Gogo-mobile. Gogo-mobile? No, not the dart. Not the dart.
Unfortunately, the Pacers do have a problem with the dart because they're just not playing him enough. 9 minutes for Bitadze, where Aaron Holiday was getting those extra minutes. Justin Holiday started the second half in place of Turner. Turner's not out long term, so there's no ad for Goga here, unfortunately. And despite how I think he's going to be good, he's just not in their plans at this early stage. 32 minutes of Doug McDirt doing Tony Snell proud. 6 points with 4 rebounds in those 32 minutes. On to the Brooklyn Nets. A bad loss for them, 118-108. I don't know if I mentioned that score already. Kyrie had 28, 7, and 6. Dinwiddie had 20 with 7 assists. He was really shit to start the season, Dinwiddie, but stepped it up. The artist formerly known as Torian Prince had 8 points, 2 steals, and 2 threes, but his preseason hotness has been replaced by the Torian Prince of old. If you are in a 10-team league, he is not a must-roster guy, and if he's a 12er, he's really on the borderline. DeAndre Jordan started, as anticipated, had 8 and 17, played 23 minutes. Jarrett Allen played 22 and had 8 and 8 with 2 steals. So a solid enough line from Allen in that second unit, while LeVert had 15 and 6. And man, his percentages is what really kills you. 33% from the field, 50% from the line. Still, of course, he is a must-roster guy. All right, let's move on now to the next game. Next game on the slate. The Detroit Pistons, the Dwayne Casey Bowl. The Raptors get the win 125-113. I believe the Pistons beat the Raptors all the times last season, but anyway, Reggie Jackson was out, and Derrick Rose did have to leave this one a little bit early with a hamstring issue. He said if the game was closer, he would have gone back in, so that's okay. He's still going to be limited all season, I believe, with his minutes. Drummo had 21 and 22, a very Andre Drummond line, while Langston Galloway had 17 points on 7 shots because he got to the line 8 times. Do not buy into this. Derrick Rose, what a weird line this is. 16 points, 10 rebounds, and literally no other stats. No threes, no rebounds, no steals, no blocks, 58% shooting. Really good to get those 10 assists, and he is a 12-team league guy, but those lack of peripherals do hurt. Christian Wood, after that big game last time out, only 16 minutes. Trusting Casey was everyone's mistake, and even mine. I thought we'd see him play more than that. We got 32 minutes out of Markieff Morris. Sorry, God, I forgot what year this was. 16 points with 5 rebounds for Markieff, and only a 14-teamer. While we're still getting 13 useless minutes out of Thon McCare. It was a bad night from Luke Kennard as well. The Duck only had 3 points in 27 minutes, but the 7 assists are nice, and I believe he should be a 12-team lag. While Sviatoslav Mikhailiuk, I don't know why I called him his full name, but 9 points in 9 minutes, 3 quick triples, not an every night rotation guy. While the baby shark, Bruce Brown. Baby shark, he's like a worse version of Josh Okogie as a steal streamer and a significantly worse version of the painter, Matisse Thybulle. Pascal Siakam, another 30 points on 62% shooting. That is fantastic. 3 threes, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and the 2 steals is great. I believe he'd only had 1 steal and 1 block all season until this game. Only 1 free throw attempt is definitely well down as well, but that's strong. And 38 minutes again from Kyle Lowry. I'll keep reiterating this. These are too many minutes from Lowry. History has shown that blokes, anyone really, who plays this many minutes, let alone 34-year-olds who have got fragile injury histories anyway, it's not going to end well. So trying to sell high on Lowry would be ideal. 20 points, 8 assists, 2 steals. Van Vliet, 13 and 11. I found out today that Van Vliet's not rostered in every league as well, so what the hell is going on? Go and add him. Well, the Marc Gasol struggles. Man, he was in early foul trouble, but it's bad. 6, 4, and 2. Now, this is a guy that when I was doing projections, I don't believe he even came out in the top 90. He's worse than I initially projected. So while I do expect him to be better than what he is now, if there's someone else out there on the wire that you want to grab, you do it. Because he, realistically, when you drafted, should have been in your worst 3 or 4 players. Probably worst 4 players. And in general, you'll probably turn over the back end 4 or 5 guys on your roster anyway. And if he's significantly underperforming, which he is, now he's not, I don't think he's totally washed up because again, I saw him play in August and he dominated. So he's not completely washed up, but it's also not good. Like it hasn't been good at all from Gasol this season. 6-4. He did have a bit of a knee problem early in this game, but he was able to return. It is a bit of a worry. You know, if you're adding him for a one-game wonder type of situation, I'll take a flyer on Batadze. Like, I wouldn't do that. But it is definite concerns. Ibaka, 19 and 6 and 2 steals. I don't know whether they'll ever make that full-time switch to put Ibaka in, but I can see more of these 28 Ibaka nights and 20 Gasol nights. It hasn't been the case every game so far, obviously. But I am watching it, and Ibaka probably is worth a 12-team look. Not the greatest OG Anunoby night.
Hello there.
But still pretty bloody good. 13 and 8 with the 2 steals, 60% shooting. You have to love that, and he is a must-roster guy across all 12-team leagues. The next game up, we've got the Portland Trail Blazers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Blazers win 102-99. Damian Lillard has been underratedly good this year. 23, 7, and 13 with 2 steals. He was the unanimous number 7 pick in drafts. He's playing right up to that level, I think. Hassan Whiteside left in the first half with a knee problem. He came back, played 25 minutes, so all good there. 12 and 12 with 2 steals and 2 blocks, while Christian James McCollum, poor shooting from CJ. 22 points, 22 shots. The 5 threes are nice. The 3 assists are also pretty good. Nothing too much to see there. Anthony Tolliver with another start for Zach Collins. 6 and 5 with 2 blocks and 2 threes. His 16-team value is there. While Scalabissiere also played 21 minutes, and It's-A-Me Mario Hazonia really did struggle.
It's-A-Me me, Mario.
Just the 2 points there. The Labissiere, Tolliver, Hazonia mix in place of Collins is not worthy of a 12-team spot. Rocket Rodney Hood, the defense still keeps coming there. 2 steals and a block with 9 points offensively, more of a 14-team league guy, while Bazemore is as inconsistent as they come, 14 in 21 minutes for Baze. On to the Thunder. It turns out Chris Paul is still all right. 21 points in 31 minutes, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. That's the concern. The assists are still low, but the points were there. 50% shooting, 2 steals, 91 from the line. This is why you don't make a dumb decision and drop Chris Paul, and why you don't sell him while he's at his absolute worst. Strong night there. No Steven Adams, so Nerlens Noel. 28 minutes, 15 and 14, a steal and a block. Adams has only got a knee contusion at this stage. Maybe that's one more game. It doesn't appear to be too long-term or serious, so that's going to limit what Noel can do. But we all know that when Nerlens plays, he's going to put up minutes. We know that. Put up minutes. He's going to put up numbers. We know that. It's all a matter of who have you got to drop to take that risk, because if it's a week's worth of action that Steve misses, then Nerlens will be great. MC Hamidou Diallo had 12 and 10 in 20 minutes. He's a better player than Terrence Ferguson, at least for fantasy. And if he ever gets that starting job and plays 30 minutes, he sneaks into 14-team discussion. Well, Dennis Schroeder, the efficiency wasn't there, but the scoring still was. 17 points on 17 shots in 28 minutes, while Gilgeous-Alexander really struggled. 13 points on 13 shots with 8 rebounds. Don't worry too much about that one. It was good to see that Noel got the 28 minutes. Versus the Moose, Mike Muscala, only playing 19. Always good to get your better players in playing those minutes. Let's move on to the next game, which is absolutely nonsense. This is not an overtime game. This is regulation. The Rockets win 159 to 158, the highest scoring regulation game in NBA history. I'm just looking here about something... about Whiteside's knee. He said he hyperextended his knee. He did come back into the game, so we'll keep an eye on that. But if he is out, then that does boost that value of Labissiere, maybe into 14-teamers. For the Rockets, man, Jim Harden, a worthy number 1 overall pick, obviously. The shot started falling, and look at that line. 59.6 triples, 9 assists, 17 of 18 from the line, 56% from the field. Unbelievable. Westbrook triple-doubled, 17, 10, and 12 with 2 steals. While Danny House, 16 and 7, 2 steals with 4 threes for Housey in those 27 minutes. He's almost a better player than Eric Gordon, I think, at this point. Now, Gordo had 15 points with 5 threes, at least for fantasy. I don't think either House or Gordo are 12-team guys, yet Gordon's still rostered in 60% of leagues, and House is rostered in 8. And you could make an argument for different types of numbers that House could be more valuable. Unsurprisingly, PJ Tucker's high usage, high scoring output fell off. 9 points on 9% usage, but 3 steals and 4 assists still makes him relatively valuable, while Capella got the double-digit rebounds. 12 boards with 21 points, 69% shooting.
Giggity.
Missed the button. A steal and a block there for big old Clint. On to the next side of this, the Washington Wizards, Brad Beal. Oh, man, if you panicked early on with Beal, you'd be kicking yourself. 46, 6 and 8, 7 threes, 3 steals, 70% from the field. Now, his 20% shooting from the start of the season was never going to stay. 70% shooting, also not going to stay. While my man, the tank, Tom Bryant. Whoo, boy, 13 and 12, 5 assists, a steal, and 4 blocks. And who are the 10% of leagues that don't have Thomas Bryant on a roster? You know what I'm going to say? Like, get your fingers out of not only your assholes, but out of all of your league mates' assholes. Go and pick him up. Just pick him up just to make me happy. Make that number rise. Davis Bertans got pretty hot. 21 points in 27 minutes with 6 triples. Not much else. More of a 14-teamer. While Rui Hachimura looks great on the surface. 23 points is great. He put up some good moves. He just does nothing else. It's the Andrew Wiggins, Colin Sexton, although Wiggins is providing more. 5 boards, 3 threes, which is more than he's ever hit in a game. Didn't ever hit 3 threes in a game in college. No assists, no steals, no blocks. Love the efficiency. He is a 12-team league guy. Isaiah Thomas went off. 17 points, 10 assists. Interestingly, his 20-minute limit turned into 24 minutes. I don't really think we can ignore him in 12-team leagues. He should be added, even though there is going to be limits on him all season. And it was good to see Troy Brown back. 17 minutes, 14 points. In any league, 14 teams or deeper, I'm adding Brown. And I think in some 12s, he's going to have some value. Ish Smith, yeah, surely no one still has him in 12s. You can give him the old heave-ho relatively comfortably. All right. On to the next game, we look at the Charlotte Hornets get a big win on the road against the Sacramento Kings. The Kings, look now, kids, if there are kids listening, tell them to muff their ears, whatever you need to do. The Kings do not give a fuck. They are showing such disinterest in playing, in movement. There's no one moving. Someone gets the ball, everyone stands around. They are not trying. And while you're a few games into the season, it's hard to put the blame onto coaches, and the coaches aren't there playing. I have to blame Luke Walton. I don't know whether it's the sexual assault allegations that hit him a week after he was hired. I don't think it's the fact that they're all in love with Dave Yeager, because the reason that Yeager got fired is because he wasn't getting along with the players, and there were arguments with the front office and with the players. So I've got to think there's something different there. Walton's system is not working with this Kings team. The players are not engaged at all, and honestly, it looks horrible for Sacramento. To have a Hornets team, many considered, including myself, to be one of the worst in the NBA, come into your house and beat you so comfortably is pretty disappointing. From a fantasy point of view, though, Terry Rozier, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 threes, 3 steals, 2 blocks. Remarkably, he was dropped by people. What are you doing? No one listening to this podcast did it, I'm sure. If he is available, he is as clear an ad as they get. But interestingly, Devontae Graham has taken over from Dwayne Bacon. 31 minutes for Graham, 12 points, 9 assists, 2 triples. You cannot leave him on any waiver wire. He has taken over from Dwayne Bacon. And to be honest, Malik Monk's getting close to that as well. 18 points for Monk with 4 threes. That's 2 big nights in a row for Monk. Now, I'm not getting overly excited about Malik, but if Monk and Bacon play the same minutes, Monk is comfortably the superior fantasy player. I don't think Bacon is very good. I've said this plenty of times. And I said the only reason we take a late round flyer on Bacon is because he's going to have all this opportunity. He's going to shoot his way into big scoring numbers with nothing else. Well, that opportunity's gone. Graham's taken the minutes. Monk is coming back and taking the minutes. Bacon played 25 minutes and had 3 points with 2 assists and 2 steals and shot 1 of 8. You can get rid of him in 10s and 12s and probably 14 team leagues. Bacon. Cody Zeller, excellent. 12 and 15 with 5 assists. He looks fantastic. And I'm great. It's grateful to know that all of those years of him being this advanced stats guy who shows a real talent for winning, that is actually translating now, and people are actually taking notice of it. This guy can be a good player, and he is a good player, and he's a must-roster 12-team league guy, as are both Miles Bridges, and PJ Washington. Bridges continues to be undervalued, 17, 4, and 2, a steal and a block available in 17% of leagues, shouldn't be. PJ Washington had been a little bit quiet lately, and of course 77% shooting won't stick, but 23 and 8, 2 threes, and 3 assists. He will be up and down, as rookies often are, but he shouldn't be on any 12-team waiver wires either. For the Kings, this guy shouldn't be on a wire. Rashawn Holmes, we can't trust Walton, but 35 minutes, 17 and 9, 2 steals and 3 blocks, 80% shooting. You cannot leave it alone. You have to grab him. The Undertaker, Dwayne Dedman, was basically a DNP CD, just 4 minutes for Dedman. With the way that Walton uses centers and the fact that Dedman was projected to be like maybe a 90 to 110 type of guy, if he's not getting the minutes, then the upside's not there anyway. Get rid of him and take that move on Holmes. If it comes back later and Dedman starts playing 24 minutes a night, oh well, I've missed out on the 110th best player. Big shit. It doesn't actually mean anything. If Holmes gets 30 a night, he could crack the top 70, and that's the sort of upside, maybe even higher. That's the sort of upside you're looking for with these moves. So that move is an absolute no-brainer. Budrick Hield, good bounce back, 23 points with 4 assists and 7 threes. The shooting was horrible, as it was for De'Aaron Fox. Both guys under 40%. Foxy had 16, 7, and 10 with 2 steals and a block, and a good game from the pencil. Barnesy. The 22 points is nice. The 3 steals is probably nicer. He is an interesting 12-team stream guy. He's more of a 14-team player. This is nice. It's also not trustworthy. And we talked about Nemanja Bjelica in the last game, who put up big numbers, but it's not enough for me to look at him as a must-roster 12-team guy. 11 and 4 in 25 would indicate that. Not great from Bogdan Bogdanovic, 12, 2, and 5. The 26 minutes is the concern. I would rather have him over Dedman, over Bjelica, over Barnes, but the upside is really being capped by the playing time. Now, something has to change, whether that's moving Barnes into a reserve role, moving Barnes up to the 4, putting Bogdanovic into larger minutes so we don't get this Trevor Ariza 21-minute nonsense. I am still holding on to Bogdan because I know he can be good, but it hasn't been great for anything, really, with this Sacramento team to begin this season. The next game up, we look at the LA Clippers and the Utah Jazz. Good win for the Jazz, 96-110. No Kawhi Leonard in this one.
I'm a fun guy.
So with Leonard out, we had Lou Williams move into the starting lineup, but it was JaMychal Green who really took advantage. 23-8 with 5 threes, 73% shooting. Of course, it's not replicable. We also had Scooter Magruder make his NBA debut, and in an homage to Tony Snell, he had 1 rebound in 18 minutes. There's a real chance that when Kawhi plays, Magruder's not even in the rotation, so of course, nothing for us to really care about there. If you're looking for a low-end big man, 8 and 8 from Ivica Zubac with 2 blocks and 100% shooting, that just consistently gets it done as a top 150 guy. Now, is the upside there? No, not really. And even this game, where Montrezl Harrell played only 14 minutes due to foul trouble, Zubac still played 18 minutes with Green getting all of those center minutes. So that's another reason why Green's numbers are a little bit unsustainable. But Zubac provides okay sort of production for that big man, while Paddy Patterson, 29 minutes for 3 points, that's not getting it done. And no way you should have Landry Shamet in any 12-team formats. 5 points in 33 minutes. Doesn't take advantage of Kawhi being out. Just doesn't. I like him. Just doesn't do enough. It was also a shit night from Paddy Beverly. 8, 3, and 1 steal. For the Jazz, Mike Conley, he's still all right. 29 points in 32 minutes. 5 triples, 5 assists, and 2 steals. This is why he was a buy low. This is why he was absolutely not a drop. Will he continue to be this good? God, no, because he won't be a 65% shooter and he dropped like 20 points in a quarter. That just doesn't keep happening. But he's also not the guy that was 1 of 16 from the field and 0 of 7 from the field and 5 fouls in 20 minutes. That's not him either. He will settle into where he needs to be. Another stark reminder that should be smacking yourself in the face for the next 5 seasons of fantasy. Don't panic in the first week. Don't panic in the first week. If someone's shooting percentages are laughably bad, they will get better. And Conley got better. 24 and 5 for Don Mitchell as well. A really good start from him.
He's Don. He's good.
While Rudy Gobert, you love the 2 blocks. The free throws are a concern, 3 of 8, and the rebounds only 7 of them. Not his best night, but still not too bad. While Bojan Bogdanovic, 14 points in 31 minutes. This is more realistic for Bogdanovic than what he did last game, where I believe he went to the line 9 times and hit all 9 of them. This 14, 4, and 2 with Conley and Mitchell rolling limits what Bogey can do, while Joey Ingles, 10.7 assists and 2 steals. Now, the 31 minutes is encouraging for Ingles. The 7 assists and 2 steals are really good as well. He can be a 12-team league guy, but this is probably the only 12-team-like performance that he's had so far. Royce O'Neal started. Not a lot happening there for Royce, more of a 14-team league player than a 12-team guy. The last game of the night, the Golden State Warriors lose to the Suns at home, 121-110. We'll talk about the Warriors in a second. Aaron Baines, what a game. 24 and 12 with 7 assists for Baines and 3 blocks. He'd been in foul trouble the last couple of games. This is, of course, the real outlier performance. Can he be a 12-team league guy until Ayton comes back? Sure. Is he working fantastically with the starters? Yes, he is. And we've seen him, whenever he gets these minutes, he is a productive player. Now, this is obviously on the high end, but still, there is some use in that. Devin Booker, 31, 4 and 5, 6 triples. Dario Saric, a great night, including the 5 steals, 16, 9 and 5, 31 minutes. He is playing quite well at the moment. Probably a 12-team league guy, even though I'm not as enraptured with his long-term upside. While ravishing Rick Rubio, looking so much better in Phoenix than he did in Utah, 14, 3 and 7. Oubre, not his best night, and weirdly, just no low usage, 14% usage, no free throw attempts, 5 of 10 from the field for 11 and 7, and finally the defensive numbers dropped off. Don't panic there. I think we have to cut bait with McCall Bridges. 15 minutes, 3 points, 2 assists, and 2 steals. Now, the 2 steals are still nice, but there's just not enough playing time for Bridges to be a 12-team league guy. Not when there are guys out there like Baines, like a Rashawn Holmes, like someone else who I just mentioned earlier that was a must, like a Miles Bridges or a PJ Washington. Holding on to Bridges, I don't think he's worth it. And unsurprisingly, Javon Carter, who went crazy the last game, had 0 points with 4 assists, not really close to a 12-team league player. Frank the Tank was also real shit in this one. 4, 2 and 2 in 18 minutes. He still can be a 12-team streamer, but that's really what he is, a streamer. Now on to the Warriors. Of course, the big news here, Steph Curry, broken hand. We don't have a timetable. Broken hands are normally a 4-week injury. There is significant worry from my end here that there is some ligament damage involved. So I think we're looking at Steph as a minimum of 4 weeks out. Could be 8 weeks, depending on that ligament issue. That he's going to have MRIs and CTs on his wrist, so we'll hear more about that. That means more usage runs through D'Angelo Russell. Minutes go to guys like Kai Bowman, who had 10 points with 3 steals here, although he is a two-way guy. Jordy Poole, who played 21 minutes. Alec Burks, who played 18 minutes in his season debut. But these guys are all so bad that I'm not sure any of them are must-add players. Maybe you look at Burks in a 12, Poole in a 14, Pascal in a 12-team league is interesting. Eric had 20 points here with a steal and 2 blocks. He looks really at home in the NBA. He started this game even with Steph playing, so that's something to pay attention to. But if they do go back and bring Willie Cauley-Stein in, who looked pretty interesting, Cauley-Stein might be worth an add. But remember, as a starter, he has never been a top 100 player. But there just might be an opportunity here for him. So he's worth an add, 12 and 5 in 12 minutes. The little dog, Glenn Robinson, had 17 points. He's going to get more shot attempts. I wouldn't trust it. 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. Again, more of a 14-team league guy. Russell had 15, 6 and 6. Couldn't hit his free throws. A poor efficiency night. The numbers will go up for D'Angelo with Steph out. And Draymond Green, 4, 6 and 4, 24 minutes. Had back issues during the game, hence the limited minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he sits games out. And if he sits, then Cauley-Stein and Pascal probably do become must-add players if they're not close to it already, which they are pretty bloody close to being must-roster guys. So an absolute disaster with the Warriors, the way they're going. You would think that them making the playoffs is not going to happen. And I do really worry about Steph and this injury. Again, just a clean break is 4 weeks. Maybe up to 6 weeks. I think there is more to it. We see with the way he landed and the way it twisted under that there could be some ligament tearing as well, avulsion fractures through the wrist as well, which are not great things. You have floating bones, not just a clean snap. There are multiple other things to consider. And while I'm recording, because I'm recording this straight after the game, we'll see if any information has come out. He's having a CT scan to determine if he needs surgery. They're just saying it's already a broken hand. It's definitely going to be, it's going to be a while. And if, Christmas, maybe that's 2 months, minimum 4 weeks. I think we have to look at Curry as minimum 4 weeks, which is not, it's not great for the NBA. It's not great for Curry, and it's absolutely horrible for the Golden State Warriors, who are going to struggle in a significant way for the rest of this season. But opportunities will be there, but these guys will suck. Poole will suck. Kai Bowman is not great. Damian Lee, who was great last game, struggled in this one, even with those absences. Yeah, Pascal's probably the interesting one. Burks is an interesting one. Cauley-Stein, a guy there. The other news we'll get to in a minute with some more injury news that we do need to talk about. So let's talk about the injury. There's quite a few things we need to talk about. Trae Young, the good news there for Trae is he's going to miss Thursday. That's not good, but he's not going to be out 2 weeks. Maybe he only misses that 1 game, so that's great news for Trae Young. Chandler Hutchison of the Chicago Bulls, he's likely to return at the end of the week. Maybe he takes the Archer Jacquino and some of Dunn's minutes. He's also really, really bad, as are the Bulls and as is Jim Boylan, so he's not a fantasy option. Kyle Kuzma's going to be back on Friday. If he's on your wire, you add him, see where it goes. I don't have massive confidence in Kuz. Derek Favors is doubtful for Thursday with his sore knee. That's obviously a level of concern. Maybe a Jackson Hayes deep league flyer is worth it. While Miles Turner twisted his ankle today. I think the initial report is we're looking at 2 games for Turner, and that boosts Domantas Sabonis' value, obviously. And then deeper leagues, maybe it's a Justin Holiday. Maybe it's TJ Leaf. They've got multiple ways they can go, but none of them are probably going to be 12-team guys. Joel Embiid and Karl-Anthony Towns, we talked about those guys getting ejected already. I'd expect 1-game suspensions there. Jacob Evans for the Warriors, minimum 3 weeks for his groin issue. He would have got some extra playing time with Curry out. Kevon Looney's going to miss at least, including today, after today, the next 3 games with his hamstring issue. Look, if we knew he was getting 28 a night, he's a must-roster guy. I worry that this hamstring is going to limit him for quite a while, and if there's someone else out there, Richaun Holmes, that you want to grab there, I would do that for Looney. Derrick Rose with his hamstring issue today, nothing too serious, thankfully. He would have come back in the game had it been close, and then, of course, the last injury is the big one, Steph Curry with his broken hand/wrist issue. Minimum 4 weeks, maybe 2 months. Shit, even if it went to 3 months, I wouldn't be totally surprised. Although that probably is on the long end for a broken wrist. Now let's flick it over to talk some DFS. Just the 3-game slate in the NBA for Thursday, low one, and it's not a great DFS night, to be honest. So for the second time in 3 days, the Miami Heat are taking on the Atlanta Hawks. This time in Atlanta, the Heat were big winners on the first one. Trae Young is out of this game, and weirdly enough, the Heat are only 6-point favorites. The total 216.5, which is a big drop from where it was the other day. DeAndre Hunter also listed as probable with a dental injury. Evan Turner is doubtful. So we're going to be seeing some very interesting lineups. Kevin Huerter is likely still going to be on a minutes restriction, so it'll be him. It'll be Cam Reddish that are handling the ball. I imagine DeAndre Bembry gets a start in this one as well, which should boost his value. But overall, I think Atlanta's going to be in struggle town a little bit. Derek Jones Jr. for Miami is out. James Johnson has been upgraded to questionable after being a fat prick too much in the season, but he is upgraded to questionable. Maybe he gets into the game if that bloke, who am I trying to think? Well, maybe he gets in the game if he's actually ready to go because Jones is out. That's what I'm trying to say. We're looking at FanDuel pricing mainly for today. For point guards, Kendrick Nunn's at 5,800. Despite a relatively good game last time, only 22 FanDuel points. The lack of peripherals, the poor shooting hurt him there as well. He had 17 or so real-life points, but not much more. 5,800's a big chunk, especially when we're still trying to see how things calibrate with Hero and Butler in that squad. So I'm not super interested. Other point guard, you got the Iron Shoulder, Goran Dragic at 6,000, who had 26 last game. I think he's a relatively okay play without being massively strong. Ty Wallace, if you want to get real sexy, at 4,700. That's a big price jump. FanDuel is just making these prices way too hard. Try again. Not too hard, but introducing way too much of an element of luck into building lineups versus skill. Shooting guard, Tyler Hero at 5,700. Like, I can spend 5,700 on Tyler Hero versus 47 on Ty Wallace. I'll take that 57 on Hero, understanding that he probably won't take 16 free throw attempts or shoot 78% from the field. But at 5,700, I feel better with him than I do with Nunn. As for Vanderpans, Kevin Huerter at 4,000, I think he could be a 25-point guy here. Maybe, look, there's a chance he gets 7 or 8 assists. I think he is in play. And then you've got Jim Butler at 92. Not many high-priced guys on the slate. There is a couple, but not too many. So I think Butler at that salary is worth looking at. For the small forwards, you're taking an upside pick on Cammy Reddish for a GPP guy. DeAndre Hunter is at 4,800. I don't really see that with him. Justice Winslow's at 72. No, not using him with the way he struggled in that first game. He's still trying to figure out how to fit in alongside Jim Butler. The Baptist, John Collins, I really like him at 8,700. No Trae Young. Usage should really, really go up. He dropped 49 in the first matchup here. Well, Jabari's at 48. Maybe he can drop a 26 or a 27er, but I'm not super keen on him. There is something there. Bruno Fernando at 38. Bam Adebayo. I love Bam at 83 as well. I think both he and Collins in that $8,000 range are interesting. At center, Alex Lenz at 54. That's a no from me. Myers Leonard at 37. Well, he had 24 points last game. Can he replicate it? Odds are probably not. And then Olynyk at 44. If I'm going to take a flyer on one of those guys, it is probably Leonard because I can get him at $700 cheaper than I can get big old Kelly Olynyk. The next game is the Denver Nuggets and the New Orleans Pelicans. The spread's sort of been going in and out. The last I saw, the Nuggets were favored by 9. Derek Favors is doubtful, while Drew Holiday has been upgraded to probable. So we're expecting Holiday to be in the lineup here, which is going to really change how that rotation runs, probably pushing Josh Hart back to the bench. 7,400 for Lonzo Ball. Lonzo's been putting up okay numbers without Drew out. I'm not sure that 7,400 is the right price tag. 71 for the Blue Arrow Jamal Murray. I'd much rather take that salary from Murray, who is more of a chance to be a 35-point guy, I believe. Monty Morris, Frank Jackson, no thanks. At shooting guard, JJ Redick's at 42, really only a GPP guy, that's about it. Drew Holiday's at 88, really tough to rely upon him coming back from a knee, considering he struggled before the injury as well. While Gaz Harris at 56. Nice, Gary! I've liked what Harris has done. I think there's a relatively safe floor in him there. Malik Beasley and Josh the Hitman Hart. Hart at 57 would be okay if Drew wasn't playing, but that's not the case, so probably not with him. Nickeil Alexander-Walker had 35 points last game, but of course, no Holiday. So Drew coming back is probably going to have an impact on Nickeil's playing time. Small forward Brandon Ingram, 9,000. He has been absolutely killing it. I don't mind going back to him at 9,000. It's a pretty hefty price tag, but his usage is absolutely through the roof, and that is pushing his numbers along. While Fart and Will Barton at 59. That's a big jump, $900 jump. makes him more unpalatable, but I still think that he can be used. While Kenrich Williams at 46, he took a lot of the minutes with Derek Favors out, had 38 points in 26 minutes last time and comes in at 4,600. So I think we at least have to consider Kenrich Williams. At power forward, Jeremy Grant at 43, no interest there. Paul Millsap at 57, I think is too high as well. Jackson Hayes at 38. Now, last game, Hayesy had 30 points in 24 minutes. Favors is likely to be out again. Will they run with Malley, Okafor, and Hayes? Will Hayes get those 24 minutes again? If I'm going to use one of these centers, it probably is going to be Hayes, but just as a GPP guy, while Malley is at 3,600. For the centers, Nikola Jokic is at 10,400. Really sluggish start to the season, but a lack of big name, big money players on this slate means you at least have to put him into the pool, while Okafor's at 36 and he's just a GPP option only. And then on to the last game of the day. The San Antonio Spurs travel to take on Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers. We have an understanding that Kawhi will be playing in this one. He sat out Wednesday's game, so he should be back here. We don't know about DeJounte Murray. Now, Murray is going to sit out either Thursday or Friday for the Spurs. If DeJounte is out, then we get more minutes for Maximum Derek.
Maximum Derek.
So Derek White would come into play. Patty Mills probably gets somewhat of a boost as well, but we don't know that at this point. For my Good Bloke Patreons, I'm going to be doing a pre-game show tomorrow where we'll have more of that info and we can dive into what happens in this game. At point guard, Paddy Beverley's at 5,400. Again, on this sort of a slate with a really strong value. I like Bev at that salary. 46 for Landry Shamet. Not really that keen, especially with Kawhi back, while Maximum Derek's at 49. He had 32 last game and could really put a 40 on the board. And I think that if we hear that Murray's out, Derek White becomes a must-roster player. DeJounte's at 6,900. That is pretty high, obviously.
Giggity.
But at that sort of salary, look, I'm not super keen on him at that sort of a price tag. Shooting guard Lou Williams at 74. You feel like you're really good with his sort of floor level. DeMar DeRozan at 78, I also think he's in a pretty decent spot, while Bryn Forbes would look to bounce back. Now, last game he was bad. He still had 22 points, so that makes him a relatively viable cash option. At small forward, Rudy Gay's at 46 and Mo Harkless is at 41. I don't really see the interest there, while the fun guy, Kawhi Leonard.
I'm a fun guy.
Again, should be in for this game after sitting out Wednesday at 10-3. Yeah, we love what he has been doing on a per-game basis. Power forwards, Trey Lyles at 38. That's a no from me. LaMarcus Aldridge, I do actually like at 8,500. Lots there with him. JaMychal Green, Paddy Patterson, probably not. At center, I love Montrez at 72. Ivica Zubats at 44. Yeah, look, his numbers have been okay. I'm not super convinced that he can be much more than a tournament upside guy, while Jakob Poeltl is going to be a pretty significant no from me. Let's just flip it to DraftKings now. I can go through some of the guys I like over there. Jabari and Okafor have some GPP value. I like Paddy Beverley. I like Zubats for cash at sub 4,000. Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, John Collins, and Marcus Aldridge, Gaz Harris, Kevin Huerter, and Jamal Murray. Pretty decent core type players. I think that Jokic at 10,000 and Barton at 5,000 are strong from the Nuggets side of things. 9,500 for Kawhi and 79 from Brandon Ingram is a really, really strong option over on DraftKings. That'll wrap it up for me today and for this show. Subscribe to this podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and on YouTube. Give me a thumbs up, leave a comment. Tell me all of the things you like and hate about the show. Just tell me about it and get it out to all your friends. Patreon.com/redrock_bball to become a good bloke and get access to the 2 exclusive pregame shows per week. 1 free one going per week at the moment as well, so check out the YouTube channel and hope everyone who tuned in live today for the first one of those did enjoy it. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya. Wilson Chandler.